All right. Again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Legend of the Three Kingdoms. Yes, this is one of my homebrew D&D games set in my weird, messed up version of a campaign setting, and the people below me are the people that still have not come up with solid alibis for why they couldn't make it tonight. So, I'm just saying, little creativity goes a long way. That's all I'm saying.
We were close.
You were close. Almost got it. He's like, wait, we can start late? Yeah, we'll wait for you. Curses.
Because we're known for starting on time.
Absolutely. So, announcements. The feedback period for the latest playtest package is out for 1D&D. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, definitely do it. I have reviews for everything but the Rogue from the playtest packet. I'm hoping to get the Rogue out hopefully tomorrow. We'll see how that works. But overall, my personal opinion, there are some interesting things that happen in it, but probably the most glaring thing to me is how much of 1D&D is about eliminating choice. As in your backgrounds, the sample backgrounds they have in there are significantly more limited and pointed than the backgrounds that are in 5th edition. The classes themselves are very much shoehorned into filling a very specific role and only that role. And while they do some nice things for the ranger that eventually I need to speak with Argenta about trying them out just in regular D&D 5th edition because I think they actually make the ranger good. There's so many other things where they just remove a lot of choice from it. And they remove a lot of kind of generic wording and things like that allows you to put your own flavor into things and make it very, very specific. No, this is the exact meaning we have, and this is the only way to play it. The example that I kept giving during my Bard Viva video was basically Bard has always been the redheaded stepchild of D&D. People, it takes a very unique kind of person that can really have a lot of fun playing a Bard, especially earlier editions of the Bard. Like the 3rd edition Bard, most of their turns were taken up not doing damage, not casting cool spells, but by playing songs. Like they would use their action probably every other turn, every 3 turns to start playing a different song. And it really wasn't a really dynamic class to play in combat. And outside of combat, they just made a lot of rolls. Starting with, and I blame Sam Riegel for this, the 5th edition Bard, Sam played a Pathfinder Bard for 2 years before they started broadcasting it?
Or they converted
the
over.
First episode that they played 5th edition in, he got his first, how do you want to do this, in 2 years of playing this game.
And he explained, I've never gotten a kill before.
Mm-hmm. And that really explains just how massively different the 5th edition Bard is than it has been in previous editions. The Pathfinder Bard is effectively the 3rd edition Bard. They are not a frontline, they are a support class. And the 5th edition Bard could be a support class, could be a very good support class, but it also had the possibility to just be a super badass caster. It was a full caster. It got access, especially College of Lore, got access to some really, really cool spells. And yeah, he became the linchpin of so many arcs where he would cast the spell that was necessary for them to win the fight over and over and over again, all the way to the climax, where I won't spoil it for anyone, but it's a massive, massive scene that has such unbelievable repercussions throughout the entire series going backwards. And it feels like the 1D&D version of the Bard is Wizards of the Coast going, stop! Bards aren't cool, okay? Bards are support classes. We're going to make sure you play them support. So you have to take all the healing spells, all of them. We're going to force you to take every single healing spell. That's a new thing for the Bard, by the way. Also, your bardic inspiration, it heals now. You have to use it to heal. And you can only use it as a reaction. So you can only use bardic inspiration if something happens to someone else. You're not allowed to use it on your own. So, yeah. Do I think it's the worst thing that's ever happened? No. But I don't like the direction it's going in. That, and they now have any class that gets spells. At the end of the class, it tells you what spells to take at every single level. And then mentions, by the way, you can choose your own spells, but these are the ones you're supposed to take. And I'm really not a fan of... They tell you what skills you're supposed to take when you start the character, what skills you're supposed to get proficiency in. They tell you what spells you're supposed to prepare. Like, they really, really like, no, we're going to make sure you play this class the way we want it to be played. And maybe it's because it's just the playtest and they wanted to playtest a specific version of the Bard. I don't know. But not a particular fan of the direction this particular playtest has gone in.
Yeah. I mean, I get the idea if it was just like, here are some suggestions. But...
I mean, they do, in their defense, they do say, well, these are the suggested spells you should have. But, again, if they give you suggested spells, every level, per level, what spells you're supposed to get.
Mm.
And that just felt really weird, because I've never heard of D&D. Even 4th edition, which held your hand a lot. At first level, you could pick basically like a subclass kind of thing. Basically, it would choose your proficiencies for you. It would choose your powers for you. You would just go, okay, I want to play a assault sword mage. Well, and it would tell you, choose this, use these stats, things like that. Like, it had that for level 1. That was it. After level 1, it's like, this is your character. Do what you want. There's tons of cool shit you can do. So... we'll see. Like I said, I mean, people freaked out about the critical hit rules last month, and they already disappeared.
Yep.
So, if you have problems like I do, fill out the form, which I haven't done yet, because I'm still busy filming videos about it. Part of me just wants to go, watch my video. I already made a 2-hour-long video about this. Watch that. But anyway. So yeah, check out the playtest stuff. It is interesting stuff, and it does give you kind of cool ideas about what may be coming in the future. Otherwise, they also you can now get physical digital bundles of the Dungeon Master's Guide with the Battle Box, which is basically little tokens you can use for minions, which are okay. Like, I don't think they're bad. However, I just found my Pathfinder Bestiary box, which is something that Pathfinder used to sell. I don't know if they still do. And it was basically the same thing. You had die-cut cardboard, but instead of little circle tokens that you would just push, basically put a sticker on, a removable sticker, but a sticker on for the different characters, they actually had these little die-cut cardboard things, and you would put them in stands so they were actually vertical. They were still flat, but I like the vertical ones other than the little coins basically that you put on the table. But that's a personal preference of me. Those are cool. I'm a much bigger fan of the what are they called? The dungeon tiles, because I have on my. You guys can't see it on the stream, but they can see it in Zoom. The bottom shelf down here. Those are my dungeon tiles. They're awesome. I love my dungeon tiles. So, anyway, cool stuff coming out from Wizards of the Coast, and they come with digital versions of like the Monster Manual or the DMG, and stuff like that. So, that's kind of cool. I'm not 100% sold on the digital physical bundles, but I will probably be getting at least the Dragonlance one because it gives you early access to the digital, and to make a review for it, I can't wait an extra 2 weeks. No one will watch my videos, so. Anyway, Now that I've wasted as much time as physically possible, how about don't make me use highlight in chat. I was waiting for don't make me tap the sign. So, I think it's time to return to the legend of the Three Kingdoms. The party has discovered some strange facts. They went into Scorn Moat to look for Lilliane's lost friend. Didn't find her, but smelled a strange scent of ozone. And then fire began erupting from the ground, seemingly randomly. But as they dealt with it more, they found that the fire seemed to be chasing them. After dealing with a few members of the clergy turned enforcers, they were able to get a little bit of information after fleeing the city. Found out the reason the fire doesn't chase anyone else is because of trinkets that they carry. Now the party is on its way back to the hideout to discuss their next plans about what to do about missing friends. So, reminder, did you guys decide to camp in the wilderness, or I thought you guys were gonna to camp in the wilderness and then head back to the base, or who remembers the last time we played?
I thought we were going right back, but
I know we kind of made like a temporary camp because we were
Yeah.
interrogating him.
Yeah, you were doing your interrogation thing.
My understanding was we were heading back.
Okay. So then it takes you guys the better part of about 2-ish hours to get back to the Giga Camp itself. Not because you were so far away, but because again, it is absolutely pitch black, and you guys tried being a little careful with what happened what happened in this city. But when you get back, the secret hideout seems to be pretty close to what it was before. You know, no one seems particularly different from the last time you met. There's still that kind of air of tension, but no one is on edge. You can see your various allies are still doing their own thing, to the point where they don't even really greet you. By the time you guys get there, it's getting close to pre-dawn. So the little hideout itself is kind of stirring from sleep, and so a lot of people are making preps, starting to do prep for the coming day. Basically, the people that are awake right now are like the people that are going to be making food, and the people that are getting ready for kind of their shift change for guard duties and things like that. So, what would you like to do?
Can we see the sailor?
Currently, you don't see him walking around, but again, because of how early it is, there's a very good chance he may be just in his little private quarters sleeping.
Well, Do we want? Do we want to run away from most people away? I'm back in this group.
I'm not sure what we should be doing now because Roland's kind of wondering if there's anything else to glean from trying to question anyone else, or if we're really just putting a pause in terms of like the plan was for him to try and get into the church.
Well, I think it's nothing else that people need to know about the Twitter. Maybe they can use that to help them move about more freely.
I could try casting Identify on the trinkets to see if there's anything magical about them.
Yeah.
Well, we just got the one, right?
Yeah, he was only carrying one. Where did? Yeah, you guys only took. You guys didn't take a body with you, right? You only took one person.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
you made them.
And we
dig their
turned
own
him into a
grave.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you only have one trinket, but yeah, if you wanna cast Identify on it, you can.
I will, as a ritual, cast Identify.
Okay. It takes you about 10 minutes to go through the casting process, and the trinket itself is relatively mundane, but through casting the Identify spell, you do find out that the trinket itself is, for the most part, it looks to be wood carved, but you can see a seam on it, indicating that obviously it's two pieces that have been glued together effectively. And by using the Identify spell, it has a mithril, or not mithril, a electrum core. And the electrum core has had some sort of divination spell cast on it, effectively meant to kind of like for lack of a better term, like a key fob. You know, it's a divination spell that makes it easy to kind of track that particular thing.
I would like to take the trinket and put it into a bag of holding.
Okay.
Oh, look, this thing is very trackable. Oh, shit.
And the camp itself is has that kind of anti-scrying field, and the particulars of this thing is not so much that it allows like scrying or things. It, for lack of a better term, it works like a key fob where it is uniquely identifiable, and it interacts with things. In this particular instance, it tells whatever it is that's causing the fire to shoot up, not to shoot up here.
Got it.
Because this person is supposed to be here. So it's not that you're being tracked by it. It's a Bitcoin.
Got it.
You know,
sorry, guys. It's low energy Bluetooth. We're okay.
Yeah, it's a magical, unique identifier. However, again, with the Identify spell, it gives you a fair amount of information about this spell that, to your knowledge, hasn't existed before. And it is a unique thing. Again, each one of these trinkets would show up differently, and would be able, like, using a locate object, something like that. You would be able, despite the fact that these are the exact same things over and over, they look mass produced, or as mass produced as you can get um, in in a pre-industrialized world. But because of this thing, they are 100% unique, each and every one of them, without having any physical variations. Like they all look identical, but each one has a unique identifier attached to it.
It's like a magical fingerprint.
Kind of.
Alright.
So I will convey that to the party. Um, yeah, guys, these are very interesting. It seems like there's. I think you could be able to track each one individually. Um, it's very interesting. Someone very clever did this.
Alright. I wonder if the people here already know that it was the cruising or affected by the flames. If there would be new information to them.
It would definitely be good information for them to have.
Yeah.
These things have a signature. I wonder if it's not just having one, but also them not knowing that you have it. So, in other words, they might have a way to make this not work anymore.
Yeah.
If somebody was very clever, they could swap, and this one doesn't work anymore. They could swap this for somebody's that does work. And then that person will have a nasty surprise.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some possibilities. Or if we
Yeah,
could.
definitely.
This is, you said this was like wooden?
Yeah, it's effectively uh, a carved wooden figure that kind of has a flame-like quality to it. Like it looks like a carved depiction of flame.
I If we can find somebody who's good with woodworking, we can make several fakes and swap them out for the real ones.
Was that why I thought it would be a good idea to bring it here, see if someone, if they can find a use like that?
Yeah. But just
Do you think we should wait for the sailor or?
That's possible. We can ask him if he wakes up. When he wakes up.
Yeah.
That got dark real quick.
Well, if we
He's getting to one
from,
fight now. Everybody's dying.
yeah, if we could probably tell them about my friend
Yes. Um,
Taylor.
yeah, we should definitely find him and make sure they're aware. Um, but should we wake him up? Should we go knocking on doors?
Or the here we could confide in or since we went to him.
Yeah. I'll start seeing if I can ask around for where the sheriff sleeps.
Yeah, not super difficult to find his particular tent. It's one of the few kind of single occupancy tents, and it is literally that. It is slightly large enough to fit the cot that he sleeps on and like a footlocker in it.
Got it.
but
Well,
it's still private.
I will knock on the flap.
Okay.
Hello.
You hear, huh?
I'll give you a moment to compose yourself.
You hear some muttering for a second. By the God. Do you know what time it is?
I actually don't.
Suddenly, the tent flap goes back. You see a very groggy looking sheriff. His hat is kind of hanging to one side. He's barely got like overclothes on. I was having a beautiful dream with a wonderful woman in it. So whatever in the seven hells you have to tell me best be very, very good.
I will produce.
Well, I don't know it good, but we do have a couple of important things.
I'm gonna get something to drink because I can't be awake at this hour without something keeping me awake. Meet me in the war tent in about 5 minutes.
Or
And understand, if we get there and this is not vital information, you will be sleeping outside forever. I will hunt you down and find you every single day and force you onto the streets. And he groggily goes over to where they're making coffee and they have they've just gotten a couple like rolls and things like that literally coming out as he takes one that's really, really hot and gets like a towel to hold it and goes over groggily to the war tent. And you see a few other people walk out of the war tent quickly after, kind of looking at each other. One of them does one of these. They walk away. What do you want to do?
One, I would like to use prestidigitation to add a cinnamon flavor to his roll.
Okay.
I'm just gonna try to put him in a better mood.
Okay.
Next, I will produce the holy symbol that we have,
Okay.
and be like, "Well, we tried to take it." Go ahead.
I think we could open the
Yeah, I forgot. And I forgot they're not flame shaped. They're in the shape of the symbol of the holy or the dark lady, which is a weird kind of crescent shaped symbol. But
Okay. Last night which by the way, we haven't even slept yet. So
what a coincidence! Neither have I.
you had a pleasant dream. Regardless,
No, I had part of a pleasant dream, and waking up in the middle of a pleasant dream is not really that pleasant.
we are done with this. I will sing you a lullaby, and you will have the soundest sleep you've ever had. But before that,
He takes
last
a bite
night,
of his roll, looks at it, looks at you.
last night, we went looking for Lilian's friend,
Taylor.
Talus, and we did not find her. We believe she's been taken.
It's what, 5 now that we're missing? She was part of the resistance. That
Yeah.
bodes very ill. The rest of them were. I mean, they weren't useless. I don't want to say that, but they weren't. They weren't doing anything. They didn't know anything.
Right.
Yeah.
This changes things.
And we believe she may have been taken accidentally. At least I do. I tried um I tried messaging with her, and her response back to me almost sounded like I was overhearing someone's conversation. Um I believe she said something like, no,
Don't understand. People will know I'm missing. I'm not like these other
Yeah.
people.
yes. As you said, she wasn't like other people. Um as we were approaching her home, though, we were set upon by the flames, those pillars of flame that shoot into the sky. And it was followed by several of the priests, several of the clergy. We
Taxes
had,
were down.
we had to defend ourselves and took two of them down in the street. A third we took with us.
I mean, to be fair, they're not really clergy. They're little more than
Yeah.
hired thugs that are dressed up.
That's true. But one of them, we had a conversation with, shall we say, and we found out that these, hold up the symbol, is how they're walking around the streets without attracting the flames.
And so he looks at it. He's like, "Are you telling me that the Dark Lady is somehow punishing the non-believers with pillars
She
of
is
fire?
not
Because that's a weird."
No.
Punishing
If
anyone.
if these people are true believers, may my matches never catch fire again.
They're just hired thugs. They're using the symbol for legitimacy, nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The faithful
Oh.
will get burned, so to speak.
So how does
The-
a fake
oh,
holy symbol
yeah.
stop real fire?
It
Oh,
has some type
And
of
you'll notice the
enchantment
weight.
on it.
If you notice the weight, for one.
If you-
So,
From what Vala is telling me, it's kind of like the city is one big trap, and that makes you immune to the trap.
did you happen to get the name of the gentleman you had the conversation with?
Never got his name, but Rowan will describe him.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone knows minor illusion.
Lillian,
I can I use disguise self to turn myself into the person.
that's what I thought. Lillian, how long were you with the church when you were there?
Was the ship boat,
Okay.
something like that?
And how many people would you reckon were part of the church while you were there?
Well, maybe I would keep it to what was it be about?
Several dozen, less than 100.
Maybe 50 thereabouts.
Okay. Well, they lost you, obviously, and Terrace, and then your other friend are gone.
Yeah.
In the aftermath, there was probably at least a good 20 some odd clergy that were killed in that. Another 10 or 20 fled the town afterwards, couldn't deal with it, didn't like where the church was going, million different reasons. My question for you is, where are all these new clergy coming from? Because that points at the uh, polymorphed, whatever, Vala, is not someone I have ever seen. And I knew most of them pretty well since we interact with them on a fair basis. Do you recognize this particular person?
No one does not.
From my understanding, they're picking up people from some of the worst rungs of
Yeah.
society, the ones that enjoy excising their power over people. And
Go ahead.
um, he just wasn't a good person.
Uh, Absolutely, and I understand
And
that very well. Go ahead.
we from our conversation with us, it certainly didn't include banners and bringers and whatever to enforce.
Understand that completely. The issue I'm having, we have not had an influx of new blood in this town, really ever. There's not a whole lot of people that travel between towns. And we just lost a decent portion of our population due to dragon related activities. And yet, not only is the church larger than it's ever been membership wise, but the city itself still has enough people that we can throw them away as sacrifices. And people are going missing and it's not blatantly obvious. So my question is, this new blood that they're finding, it ain't coming from outside the town. And it ain't coming from inside the town. So where in the hells is it coming from?
If I had to guess, I had to say the bear that came in with the dragon that probably bringing them in. Maybe underground tunnels, something like that.
Well, if you can figure out where they're coming in from, since I haven't been able to find out, maybe that'll give you a way to get in. This might actually be worth wasting a dream. Still, maybe next time you can find super important information during normal business hours.
Apologies.
I'll fill in the rest of the War Council. Well, what's left of them, seeing as we just lost our connection to the church. I'll fill in the rest of the council with what's happened. But we're at a rather significant disadvantage now. She was our inside man, so to speak. We now have no idea what's going on inside the church or inside most of the town. Most of the town folk aren't allowed to travel places where they're not supposed to be. They get in trouble, then they disappear. Being a member of the church, she could go a lot of different places that we couldn't. And she had people on the inside that she never told us about. On purpose, mind you. We didn't want to know their names. But,
Just because it's coming to mind, how far would this place be from the center of town, like distance-wise? A mile?
Um, the uh, the campsite you guys originally camped at was about half hour outside of town, and this is another kind of half hour back from that campsite you guys originally camped at when you first got here. So, probably mile and a half, maybe 2 miles
All right,
outside of town. Not massively far away by any measure.
all right. I'll keep that in mind.
Well, you see him kind of smell the air for a second. It smells like the protein's finally being put to the fire.
Mm.
If y'all wait for about 10 minutes, you probably get some hot food before you decide what to do next. I don't know how well I don't know how well you knew Terrace, Liliane, but she is
Me and Paula were know somebody after both.
she's not the kind of woman I would ever describe as being helpless or needing any
Yeah.
sort of intervention. So if they took her without loads of destruction around her, something else is going on. Either she wanted to be taken, or they have ways of persuasion that are more impressive than anything I've ever had.
Current hope is that she is alive because, if they wanted her dead, we would have found a body instead of nothing. And the second is the strange charged air, smell of ozone, the same smell that we were able to attribute to Felicity going missing as well. So we've now established that there is, at least two people, they've disappeared. They have not been killed or destroyed. So that means they must obviously have a use for them in some manner.
You see him reach into a belt pouch and he takes out a small pearl. And he puts it on the table. Some modified sending stone. It's specifically designed to work through our little anti-scrying barrier here.
Mm.
I have the other one. I'd feel a lot better if y'all just kept this on your person. He hands it to Vala first. Squeeze it. Speak. It'll pick up anything within talking distance. Let it go. It works in a pocket, in a pouch. It's a remarkably useful little magic item.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only issue with it is it only connects to this, and he shows his. So I'm the only person you're going to be able to talk to. But we've only been able to test it for about 10-ish miles. But my understanding of the magic, it should work over any distance as long as y'all don't start jumping through planes of existence or nothing like that.
Well, if we could do that.
Not that we know anything about that.
Is it limited to how many times you can do it?
It has 6 charges per day.
Okay.
Again, not. I'd love it to be more useful, but
It's still extremely useful.
and it'll transmit about 20 to 30 seconds worth of information per charge. So use it sparingly, but if something bad goes wrong,
Does anybody else want to take this? I feel like it may be useful. Um, and technically speaking, I have other means of sending. Maybe best not to put all of our eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Is what I'm suggesting.
Intention is for me to go in.
Do you think they would search you enough that they'd be able to find this?
I think they're going to search me. They're going to find a pearl.
Yeah, but
I'll hand it over to Relwyn.
Just make sure if they ask for tithe is something else.
Hmm.
Why don't we take a page from their book? We could paint this, make it not look like a pearl. Put it on a band, a wrist wrap or something, a bracelet.
yeah.
Makes sense.
We could also sew it into your clothing.
Whatever y'all decide to do with it, I have a lovely buxom woman to get back to. So
Yes.
and I have
Probably.
a meeting with some rather unagreeable war council members before I get to do that. So
I'm going to regret this, but um, I will take a minute and cast Dream on him.
he, with the fact that it would take a minute for you to cast it, he's not going to stay here long enough to have it cast on him.
Okay.
He's literally on his way out as he says that. So
Okay. Never mind then. I was willing to throw away a perfectly good 5th level spell, but oh, I was gonna make it up to him, but all right.
you think him and Argenta probably have similar opinions on arcane bullshit. So
Shit.
Just looking forward to casting smut.
Anyways,
Anyway, I've been doing. Did you go in and be?
They're taking people, and
Yeah, but
and they keep beating us to the punch. We literally
yeah,
lost for 5
but
seconds.
if we get fired, how the heck we the leaders that can get it too?
What, Lee? Put it this way: what's the alternative? What is the alternative option we have here? Because I'm guessing I'm guessing wherever one, we don't even know where the door is to kick down, and then what then? They're taking these people somewhere that we don't know where they are.
Yeah,
If we go barging in, we might get people killed. I'm not crazy about this either.
wish one of us could go with you.
I mean, there's something that I wanted to try before we did anything, but I'd need to get back to town. Like closer to where we were.
Okay.
I haven't done it in a while, mostly because this place is weird, but maybe I am able to focus it this time.
I would recommend someone else make me want to carry the cross if I'm trying to come to them asking for some form of guidance. I don't think it would make much sense if they found that on me.
No, I agree. Probably a good idea for one of us to take it.
yeah. I can do it.
Okay.
So, as you all are kind of speaking, you two start to kind of smell the scent of, roasting and sizzling meats and other things. You can hear the rest of the little camp is starting to wake up. People are starting to head over to get their morning meal, which today seems to consist of effectively a morning stew kind of thing and bread. Effectively, grits with bacon and bread is effectively what it is.
I will cast precipitation and make mine cinnamon flavored.
Cinnamon flavored bacon. Oh, I guess cinnamon and bacon ain't the worst combination ever. I would have gone brown sugar, but to each their own.
Maple.
Yeah. God, maple bacon. Oh. So, do you guys get breakfast? Do you want to actually take a long rest? What are you thinking about?
Definitely breakfast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Breakfast and rest.
Breakfast and rest.
Yes.
Or did you have a different idea?
I was just say reverse the long rest and the meal.
Hmm.
So by the time you guys wake up, it would probably be closer to you. Probably be in between the noon and dinner. So if you don't eat now, you won't be eating their food until a few hours after you wake up. So for those of you that do decide to get breakfast, again, it's not fancy, but it is very filling. Very kind of efficient style breakfast, which is kind of what you've seen here, and it's not unpleasant tasting or anything like that. It's just not anything fancy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, traveling with a chef has spoiled you to normal people food. And then finding a place to rest is incredibly easy. Like you go to one of the tents and they give you some beds, and then you have no problem falling asleep. When you wake up, the first thing that you notice is the air just feels different. As much as nothing physically has changed, there's kind of like a tension in the air that you can feel as you wake up. People seem to be glancing around a little bit more often, whereas before they were a little more kind of carefree. One of the few places in Cruciatalia you had been where people seemed to be able to relax, and now everyone just seemed very kind of wary and almost like they were expecting something. What would you all like to do? Start with Rowan this time. Rowan, as you wake up, what's the first thing that you want to do?
Well, if we've all had our long rest and now it's closer to a dinner time situation.
Like I said, you by the time you wake up,
Early
if you
dinner.
take a full long rest, you're probably waking up around like 1 o'clock, 2 in the afternoon.
Okay, so like lunch hour still going on.
Lunch would have ended about an hour previously, so because for this group, lunch would start around 11ish and then go till around 1. So you're around the closer to the 2 o'clock than the 1 o'clock.
Okay. Well, first thing, Rowan will spend an hour basically trying to get his head on straight, and he will spend his time cooking for the group.
Okay. So compared to the meal you just had, this is still filling, but significantly more pleasant.
Huzzah.
And they get temp hit points. 5. 5
Delightful.
alive. So,
Relwyn will stop by the sheriff's tent. He realizes it's still like late, but he will still drop by with a cinnamon roll as an apology for waking him up early.
When you drop by the tent, he's not there, but you were effectively directed to the war tent, where he just kind of sees you and he waves, he takes it and gives you a nod, and then they seem to be very, 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 very focused on what they're doing.
He's gonna stop long enough to appreciate that icing, by God.
So, Vala, while he is doing his chef thing, what do you want to do?
While he is cooking, I'm going to be playing some notes
Mm-hmm.
on my flute. And while Relevant's cooking, I will, as I'm going through this, I've been thinking a lot about the Major Domo
Mm-hmm.
and and I'm talking with Relman when I say this. I've been thinking a lot about the Major Domo and what he did. Now, what he did was completely evil,
Agreed.
but I think I can use that.
Use what? In what sense?
He connected himself to those children. And so when he would take damage, he would force that damage onto others. I don't think it has to work that way. What if you could share it, though? Instead of one of us taking a hit, what if we could share that hit amongst us?
Sharing the burden of harm?
Yeah.
Could be just as beneficial as it is detrimental, depending on who's taking the hit.
Yeah.
Right. But, if...
I mean, if someone wanted to do severe harm to all of us at once.
Right, but what if they're trying to take one of us down, and instead of that person falling, you can share the burden of it? It's a thought. I want something good to have come from that, at least.
So I thought it sounded like you had a way of doing that. Do we not?
I think I can. It's a... And she'll start playing some music on her flute. And just... I will...
You playing Careless Whisper? What are you playing?
I'm playing The Chain by the Carpenters. But I will use a bardic inspiration and cast Elegy of Shared Suffering between me and Relwyn.
Okay.
And then, just as hard as I can, I'm going to slap myself across the face.
So as that happens, as the impact, like you can feel the impact and you can feel kind of the force of it pushing your face, but the actual kind of pain from it feels kind of deadened, almost like you had something in between, like maybe you were wearing a glove or something. Rowan, on the other hand, as you're sitting there cooking, you don't feel any of the force of it, but you can feel the slap on your face. And again, it feels a little subdued, but it's very noticeable. You each take a single point of damage.
Huh? Did it work?
Tired of you people using me as a punching bag.
It was a shared punching bag.
Technically, I punched me, so...
If it'll make you feel better, you can hit me back.
It won't make me feel better. Literally, it will not make me feel better. For a split second, he just looks at his mace and his own crotch. He's just like, no.
But would that work?
Are you familiar with the movie The Corsican Brothers?
No. Um,
It's really popular in Meissen Ford. They have a thriving theater district.
yes. Um,
Fish Marin.
but at least now we know it works. And and next time, it may be your burden that I share. Anyway, so yeah, then I will. Uh, I believe I have a scroll fragment that they were trying to burn in the fire.
Yes.
I'm gonna try to spend some more time trying to figure out how that spell works, and
Okay.
if there's any way I might learn more about it.
Okay. Make me an Arcana check with disadvantage.
I would remind of the stuff we did learn about it. It seemed to be a uniqueness in its crafting. It wasn't a conventional teleportation, but it also
Mhm.
had things that it had advantage. I mean, not advantage, similarities with, like recall.
Mm-hmm.
That is a 14.
I don't know if I can get a +4 on that or not.
Because it is a partial fragment of a scroll, you're really not able to learn much more than what you already know.
Okay.
There are aspects of it that are similar to a teleportation spell or something close to that. You think the function of it is to transport at least one being from one place to another, and it has aspects of the recall style spell where it has kind of a tethered point. But beyond that, you're missing so much of
Okay.
the spell because the scroll itself is damaged. One thing you can be relatively certain of is this spell was not cast.
Okay.
Because if it had been, when a spell scroll is used, it
It
disintegrates.
would have been used. Got it.
So
Okay. I
whatever
didn't
they
know
were
if
planning on using it for, they weren't able to use it for. But beyond that,
Okay.
there's just not enough here. Even if you were to see the entire kind of spell sigil on there and all the arcane writing and stuff like that, it's still, effectively translating someone else's made up language.
So they did effectively use something else other than the scroll.
Sorry, say that again?
They used whatever it was they used. They did not use the scroll.
They didn't at least use this scroll.
Fair point.
And these guys like making things in mass production. Like they're crappy robes. Very poor quality. Church of the Dark Lady would have never gone for anything like that.
So, Argenta, while these two are slapping each other silly, what are you doing?
She kind of looks at her cloak because not sure exactly how to use the Shadowfell ability yet, but as she's doing that, just because they're spending, an hour here or whatever, she's going to try and use her portal sensibility, but focus it in a way that to ignore the background count, or I don't know a better word for it, but the fact that it was overwhelming the last time she used it.
Mm-hmm.
So she's just trying to see if she can hone on that so that it's not overwhelming in the future.
Okay. Make me a Constitution saving throw.
That's 26.
26. So as you kind of focus on this Shadowborn ability of this Kuka Cloak, and its connection to the Shadowfell, your first kind of instinct every time you attempt to use this power is immediately to stop using it. Like it is almost reflexive. That as soon as you start feeling the Shadowfell power kind of creeping from the cloak into the rest of you, your body rejects it. And that was one of the reasons why it was so hard to control before, was just you seem to have this instinctive reaction to this feeling that you want to stop it. As you slowly kind of build up a tolerance to that, you start kind of feeling all the suffering and darkness that is kind of inherent in Crucitalia. Because the Shadowfell itself is a very dark and oppressive place, and the entire plane itself is infused with negative energy. So the fact that Crucitalia is orders of magnitude darker than that is an incredibly overwhelming experience. But as you kind of fight and work with it, you think you've got a little bit better control over it. However, this is a very controlled environment, let's say. So while yes, you think it works fine here, you're not 100% certain how well you're going to be able to handle it in the middle of combat or anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, because I'm not finding a note about it in like the 47 different places I keep notes, did we ever talk about exactly mechanics-wise what that does?
No, I don't think we ever talked about what the Shadowfell power does.
Okay, I'll finish doing that tonight then.
All right.
Because I got way behind in dealing with stuff for all of my campaigns, so I'm slowly catching up. I find the Elegy of Emptiness thing that we just found was something that that we talked about like 6 months ago, maybe like back in May. So like 4 months ago, 3 months ago, something like that. So
It was like 3 or 4.
So anyway, that will get finished soon. Then Lillian, do you have anything that you're doing while everyone else is doing stuff to get ready for the moment?
I will be kind of thinking about my time at the school and see if I can remember anyone that he was could have identified as a possible ally or whatever that the Taylor was talking about.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me a history check. And if I ask for a weird check that doesn't sound right, I am currently running 3 different systems. One of which is D&D 4th edition, which I have had to relearn over the past month. So if I ask for like a dungeoneering check, I know that's not a thing in 5th edition.
I will, yeah. I will 10.
10. Okay. So as you're kind of thinking over the people that you knew in the church when you were there, beyond your 2 friends that you spend the most time with, you're actually having a hard time remembering anyone else in the church, to the point where it's not so much like, oh, what was that guy's name? Like, you, other than Terrace and
William.
there we go. Yeah, William. Other than Terrace and William, you can't actually remember anyone else right now that was there with you, other than the high
Yeah.
priest, which doesn't seem right to you.
Uh, um, then again, after several minutes of trying to remember wherever I was go out and again go by Valor where they are.
As you're approaching, you watch as Vala slaps herself, and you see Rowan kind of rub his face a little.
Okay.
I
Do
learned
I
it.
want to know?
I learned a new trick.
Oh.
Quick, punch me.
No.
Oh wait, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Hey, maybe that will work for that um punishment.
You realize if Argento finds out about what the spell is right now, he's going to hurt the both of us.
It's a 2-for-1 spell.
I love how you guys think Vala is somehow an innocent. So, you all have eaten. The War Council seems to be very busy at this point, to the point where they've actually kind of closed the tent and they aren't allowing people in. Otherwise, like I said, the rest of the town is just kind of on edge. What would you all like to do?
Would I see them closer who's ever around me, do you know what's going on today?
The kind of page that was standing outside the tent. Sorry, they didn't tell me anything. I'm just here to get messages back and forth.
Yeah, no problem, but that maybe you would have overheard something, but
Sorry, do you have a message you want to send to them?
um, no, not right now. Thank you.
Alright, then.
And I'll go back where they can.
Oh, okay. I guess that conversation's done then. I'll just stay here. He goes back. What do the rest of you guys want to do?
Roland will very quickly, remembering what you said about hiding the pearl in plain sight. He's already cooking. Would have basically probably tried to access or at least get an egg. Imagine, like, even if he's just utilizing one, it shouldn't be too hard for him to get a hold of one.
Okay.
He'd get that, maybe some pigments. He'll simply do I believe it's a tempara. It's basically where you use a egg as a base and adding pigments, and he'll cover the pearl as a type of kind of like a medieval paint application.
Okay.
But it doesn't look like a pearl.
Alright. So now you have a differently colored. What color did you pick?
Oh, I imagine it just be something that just matches something just like a gray, black, whatever it might look like. Not too dissimilar like any other type of a prayer bead, really.
Okay. So you.
It's just, because I imagine it just looks like a simple sphere now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Works for me. So now you've added to your rosary, effectively. So, what do you guys want to do? You can stay here. You can head back to Scornmote and try and find more info. Again, because it's during the day, people are allowed to be on the streets. It's still a fairly deserted town, but you're not going to be, you know, attacked for being on the streets.
mean, I'll talk about it. So, how soon are you thinking you want to try your business?
I'm not crazy about what about doing this, but to be perfectly frank, I think at this point, if we're doing anything else, it's just basically avoiding
Yeah.
that I have to do this.
I mean, do you want to do it
I think right now,
now or at night?
I think right now would be the most beneficial time since everyone else is on the street too. I think, I mean, to be perfectly frank, the way I'm dressed, even though I'm not broadcasting that I'm a cleric, I kind of,
Yeah.
I guess, to put out the vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
No.
They seem fairly predatory in nature, I'd imagine. And then finding out someone who's actively looking for them, I think it'd be just as easy for them to come looking for me.
Yeah.
You prepared for this?
No,
Just remember, the best lies always have a kernel of truth to them.
Yeah.
The key is just knowing what parts to omit, what parts to embellish. Keep them simple.
Cause I went my background with my family. Trying to get with a little bit of tradecraft.
So I didn't get the last part of that.
With my family having a background in being spy.
Oh, okay.
Can I try to with tradecraft 101?
Ooh, okay. Make make a performance check. For lack of a better, you know, they don't have a training stat in
Yeah. Alright.
Coming from a trainer, though, it is a performance. Sure, we'll give you advantage on that. I mean, that's an interesting idea. I have no idea how bad your charisma is, but
11.
oh well. At least it's not a minus.
Yeah. No, every roll is 11.
Oh, the total was an 11. Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So as you kind of sit him down and go, okay, these are the things you need to worry about. Because it had been, first of all, you yourself were never really a spy.
Yeah.
So you're kind of giving information that you learned either secondhand or by watching someone else do it without any explanation. So you're starting from a little bit of shaky ground. And as you're trying to give him the information, you're a little bit kind of scatterbrained in what you're doing, where you'll talk about things, then but in this particular case you should do this, but then in all other cases you do this, but then in this case you do this and so you don't
act
think
casual, but don't act like you're acting casual.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you don't think you hurt his chances at all. You don't think the information you were able to give him is going to be of much of a benefit to him.
Alright.
So, you ready for it then, Rowan?
I think right now, just like Rowan's gonna like, I think Roland's coming from the spot of if I just separate from the herd, I'm going to imagine I'm probably going to get pounced on.
Maybe. So, so with Relwyn going into the state itself, are you guys going to find vantage points to watch him? Are you going to huddle around the link pearl with, or the sending stone thing, sending pearl, with the sheriff and wait for him to say something to you? Like, where do the rest of you want to be while this is happening?
Yeah, keep in mind the sheriff has the pearl, so
Yeah.
And you get a grand total of 3 minutes of conversation split up into 6 30-second chunks per day. So
Right.
I think if anything, it's just me making reports to the sheriff.
Yeah. I think I would try to find a better point to keep an eye on him.
okay, the rest of you gonna go with Lillian or what?
I don't think it is. I think every one of us needs to be back with the Taylor.
Why?
Well, because he's the one with the other phone.
That doesn't help, though, really.
Yeah.
Just inquire before I split off. How long would a bardic inspiration last if I were to get that?
10
10
minutes.
minutes.
Okay, I don't know if you want to waste that or not.
No, I've got plenty of bardic inspiration to waste.
Since at this point
As-
he comes back on a short rest, so
Yeah. So yeah, right before you leave, I will start playing the Mission Impossible theme song.
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. And
Boom.
sure enough, you light a match. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So.
Actually,
The-
you actually get the pyrotechnics to work where every time there's a hit from the orchestra, there's a little explosion. So it's like,
because I have one of them, Argenta is just gonna kind of tap you, Rowan, and you get protection from good and evil cast on you. As like some iron silver dust gets sprinkled under your cloak where they won't see it.
how long does that last for?
An hour.
An hour. Cool. So,
Shoot, where did that come from?
it's always a good thing to hear. Wait a minute. I have a character sheet?
I will take one of the book of fairy tales.
Okay.
I'll take a moment and focus on it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll hand it to Relwyn.
All right.
Again, didn't think I'd be able to put it in this game. It's like,
It's a good book, but more importantly, it's a very unique book. And if I focus on it, I can find out where it is.
Oh.
I can track objects. I can track this book in particular.
about someone named Charlotte.
So, finding a spot outside of town to kind of be a vantage point, not a particularly difficult for you thing for you guys to do. Especially with Lillian having lived here for 6 to 8 months, you guys find a spot to watch over without too much difficulty. And as you kind of predicted, Rowan, as you walk into town, the town reacts almost viscerally to your presence. The fact that you are already kind of wearing clothing that identifies the Dark Lady, and having a very kind of priestly look to you. People avoid you like the plague.
Yeah, I imagine like he made it a point of not wearing overly overt markings.
Well,
But I think he does.
I thought, from what you described to me, I thought going into this you were going to try and kind of play up
Oh,
what
I
you
was just putting it
normally
on
repress.
me, like yes, and I was thinking like so now he's might actually be like showing his symbol.
So yeah, all the stuff that
Anything
and
else looks just like
for,
robes.
For you in particular, you've spent so much of your life kind of hiding and repressing your connection to the Dark Lady, and it feels both kind of liberating and almost voyeuristic.
But he's also
for you to
getting
be
that
kind of
look.
walking out with this stuff just kind of on display. You feel very vulnerable.
But he's also getting that look from people believing the false stories.
And yeah, it takes 10 minutes for someone wearing, to you it is blatantly obvious, very kind of cheap knockoff robes that are supposed to look like something someone in the cloth would wear, but are wholly inappropriate for that. Like big kind of thick wool robes that would never be comfortable to wear for long periods of time, and would be very difficult to keep clean and things. Stuff that you just would never wear from a practical standpoint, but it kind of looks similar. And this
Like
group,
you would only wear this inside for a brief moment of time for such and such thing. And
yeah, but basically people that are pretending to be something that they're not, and they never quite learned that, this big getup is something that they only wear on special occasions, and when they're not in front of people, they actually wear this and this and this, and and so this group of three men in these kind of gaudy outfits come up to you, and the first thing that you notice about them is they do not hold themselves like physically, as you would expect someone in kind of a service profession would hold themselves. They are very kind of aggressive, like their jaws are set, so you can see some of them are reaching underneath their robes to grab what you would assume are weapons underneath. Like, this is a very aggressive little group of monks coming towards you.
oh yes, hello, peace be on to you.
And as they come up, the one in the front comes and goes, "Excuse me, Father, I think you might be lost. Might I be able to take you to the right place?"
Yes, I would say I have been looking for the church.
No. See, so a church is closed here. I know it seems very confusing with us being here, but as you can see, the town has been a terrible loss, and we're trying to help as much as we can. But yeah, it's like we're not having services today, so we won't need you to read a sermon or nothing like that. So you can just go.
Oh, I'm not one of those prognosticators just spreading the word. It's not not at all what I'm doing.
Okay. Then we're not looking to help set up your church. There's no donations coming from us. We have plenty of missionaries. Don't need to support another one. You can just go on your way.
It's like a time.
Sure.
Well, the premise being obviously that Rowan's having a crisis of faith. and these church folk are preying on that, so to
R-
speak.
roll me an insight check. I'll give you advantage on this because
Okay.
this is something you would know, being again a member of the clergy.
God, I'm using the sanguine dice. Got it right in my ear. 28
28.
total.
It is blatantly obvious to you. They are terrified of you. From a kind of threat perspective, like the person in the front is doing everything he can to get rid of you. They seem to not want you to come any closer to the town whatsoever. It's obvious to you he's not even listening to what you're saying. He is giving you whatever excuse he can to get you out, and you can see from his bearing, his word choice, like he wants you gone now. For whatever reason, he doesn't want you here. And he wants you gone very, very quickly. And the longer you are here, the more agitated and worried he seems to be getting.
But my understanding is that the premise was they're looking to prey on people.
Absolutely. But for whatever reason, he doesn't want to prey on you.
Does Relman get the sense that he's the wrong target now? Because again, the purpose was they shouldn't recognize they were wanting to utilize Relman because
No, no,
he's
no,
not
no. It's not that at all. You know from the conversations you've had with other people, the church is actively recruiting. These three specific people are not acting the way you would expect them to. They seem very worried about you in particular. The rest of the town is acting exactly the way that you thought that they would. You know, the town is highly distrustful of the church because they've effectively become the mafia. But these three particular people, for whatever reason, are doing everything they can to keep you from getting any further into the town.
So I guess I'm sorry. So I guess the wires getting crossed here. Are these the people I want to be?
You have been intercepted by three people who are not acting the way you think they should. Beyond that, I can't really tell you much without metagaming, but what you can tell with a 28 insight is the one thing they don't want you to do is to go further into the town.
But unfortunately, that's what what I'm needing.
Mm-hmm. They don't seem to be. If you've ever dealt with someone, without giving too much away, if you've ever dealt with someone that's doing something wrong and they don't want to get caught dealing with someone that could get them caught, they will lie, they will do everything they can to prevent, but they're not doing anything that would make you think that they're going to try to attack you. Because again, they seem to be fearful of you. Does that make sense at all?
Yes, but also at the same time, this is absolutely the exact opposite of what was supposed
To
to
make
be
it
going on.
easier, you don't think these guys are members of even this
Yeah.
member of the clergy. These are not people that have been recruited by the Church of the Dark Lady in Scornmount. These are con men that are pretending to be members of the church to steal.
But they're
from
not.
people.
But they're not even members of the fake church.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what you're getting from them. The
Yeah.
clothes that don't quite fit the way they're supposed to, the fact that they're terrified of a real member of the church at all. So what would you like to do with that information?
Because see again, because Rowan's not there. He's not a deceptive type. But he's definitely got the insight of like this is not. This is just someone who's now an obstacle.
Well, I would say, again, from someone has been in similar situations where a fake expert has attempted to deceive people and manipulate people, and being an actual expert, you just kind of come in. I would almost guarantee Relwyn has dealt with people claiming to be priests to scam people out of money and things like that. And I would assume Relwyn has probably dealt with them relatively harshly. Maybe not fatally or anything like that, but a strong rebuke or things like that would not be outside the characterization. So this is a situation that, surprisingly enough, as much as Relwyn feels very out of his element going in to deceive the church, dealing with people that are trying to scam people by pretending to be a part of a church, this is in your element. This is something you've dealt with before. So if you were not trying to infiltrate a church, you were just wandering through the town and you saw someone claiming to be a prophet of the Dark Lady,
Yeah.
how would Relwyn deal with a charlatan effectively?
Yes. And I think, so seeing as that, I think Rowan's he feels part of him feels bad that these guys never now his opportunity.
Okay.
And he will basically just he understands they're also afraid of him, but they're not punching fist or anything like that. But they're so Rowan's just he looks like he's rather tense, and he looks like he's putting his hands he's takes a step forward.
They step back as you step forward. Seriously, we're perfectly fine here. We'll send for you when we.
And his eyes, he's going to it's kind of unintentional, but he's going to use thaumaturgy. His eyes are going to change color.
Okay. Go ahead and roll an intimidation check with advantage.
Because he would I think he would. His voice might boom, but I think he's just tapping to the eye side.
Sure. Go for it.
Unintentionally. Sorry, intimidation.
Yeah, if you want to use wisdom instead of charisma for that, make a wisdom intimidation check, since wisdom is your spellcasting modifier.
Okay, they said make it a +9.
Well, it would just add your wisdom modifier, and then if you were, I don't know if you're trained in intimidation or not.
I'm not.
Okay, so it would just be as if intimidation was a wisdom-based skill instead of a charisma-based skill. Does that make sense?
Okay, so it would just be a +4.
Yeah.
Like a non-proficient.
Yep.
Okay, so that'd be survival. Okay. With advantage or just regular?
Advantage still, yeah.
Okay.
You peaked your mic, by the way.
No, I'm sure I did.
That was amazing.
So 14 + 4, 18.
18. So they all, as you do that, they kind of freak out. And you...
It is bad enough dealing with people like you. I'm trying to find people who really know something about the Dark Lady, not charlatans!
And they're like, okay. And as you say that, you actually see someone wearing significantly more practical clothing, wearing having a... Sorry, making sure everything's in the right place. Having an actual holy symbol to the Dark Lady on kind of a chain and everything. And he's actually carrying a book of prayers. And you see him kind of walking forward. Excuse me. What exactly is going on here? And he sees you, brother. And he sees them. I'm sorry. And you see this kind of smile appear on his face that you've seen before on other people in power that have discovered someone doing something wrong and they have the ability to stop them. I'm sorry. I don't think I recognize you. What are your names? Oh, really, we was he just came in and we was going to take him right to you because we knew you was just so busy that we... No, of course not. We servants of the Dark Lady are here to help shepherd those who need it. I would hate to see someone come into the town and be taken advantage of by people besmirching the name of the Dark Lady. And as he says that, he seems to get taller, and they seem to get smaller. But of course, and he kind of lightens up for a second, you three would never do anything like that. You must simply be new recruits. That's exactly it, Father. That's exactly it. We're brand spanking new. We started this morning. That is wonderful. And he goes and he actually puts his arms around them and kind of pulls them in a little bit. We love new members of the church. Well, you must be eager to start your chores. As you know, you must cleanse your body before you can cleanse your soul. And I cannot think of a better way for you to cleanse your body and soul than by cleaning the latrines. The population has been put under such a horrible situation here. A lot of their infrastructure has been taken out. As servants of the people, you should feel very happy to do that. And you see him kind of snap, and you can see another kind of lower member, actual member of the church come over. These lovely new recruits. I'm sorry, I don't actually recognize... No, they are new recruits. Oh, okay. And they want to help the town by cleaning their latrines and emptying them out. Ensure that they do that. Of course, Father. Absolutely. You lot, come with me. And they look very put out, and he watches them go, and he turns to you. I am very sorry about that. This is a very difficult time for the town, and certain people have decided to take advantage of that. I am afraid I do not recognize your face, brother.
I just asked. I want to make sure to get the terminology correct. Will this guy be recognized as a brother, a father? Was the hierarchy of this of the church in this setting of this world?
In this particular instance, he is not a priest or anyone really high ranking. You're
brother, hello, brother.
You guys would effectively be the same rank. So brother would be a common term, or first name basis is actually really, really common as well. The only people that would technically refer to him as father would be things like acolytes, which are effectively kind of servants in the temple, whereas this is an actual member of the clergy. If he did have levels, he would probably have at least a few levels of cleric in him. So yeah, you guys would effectively be of a similar rank. Neither one of you are head of anything, but you would be above acolytes and things like that. I am
Yes.
Balthazar. What is your name?
Well, Rowan is trying to memorize the name. Okay. And Rowan just basically looks into he's calmed himself down after trying to basically just doesn't know how to act, but he knows how to yell.
Mm-hmm.
It's like as he's no longer. It's like I think that would have gone away immediately when he came up, because his attention was focused on the three conmen, and he's like, "Yes, hello, brother Balthazar. My name is Brother Rowan." And he's going to lean into the truth and just basically go, "I think I'm supposed to be here."
Really? Why would you say that?
And Rowan's going to look around and because I don't know where else I'm supposed to be.
And you see his smile kind of get bigger, and it's a very kind of warm, inviting smile. And he puts a very large hand on your shoulder. I believe this is exactly where you're meant to be. Let us talk. And he kind of leads you through the town. Where are you from, Brother Relwyn?
And Rowan sees no reason to lie, so he's just like, originally I come from Misenboard.
It has been a long time since I've seen anyone from Misenford. What brings you so far across the lands? It is a pretty significant trek from there to here.
Easiest explanation I can give. I found myself outside, and I needed to get away as soon as possible. The things in the forests, if you've known anything about that village, the area around it's easy to get
wilderness
herded.
In general, can be a very dangerous place. Really, every time we step outside the walls of our temples or our churches, we run the risk of finding danger, of finding conflict, strife. There are many who, when they see how dangerous it is outside, decide their best choice of action is to stay inside. So at the very minimum, you should be proud of the fact that you have chosen action over safety. The Dark Lady governs death, the passage from this life into the next. By far the most serious consequence of action there is. I would think she would admire one of her flock taking action over safety, allowing her to decide when they pass to the next life instead of their own. You should be very proud of your choice. So why do you think you should be here instead of Midwell, Ilmorn, Rathfont? What makes here so special to you? And as he's been saying this, he's slowly kind of taking you through the town. And as he does, every so often, again, when you first came into the town, people avoided you like the plague. But as he's walking through, you'll see people and they'll kind of wave, and then they'll see him with you and be a little more hesitant, and he'll wave at them and smile and keep kind of walking you through to the town.
Because no one seems to know what her message really is. Everyone seems to think, everyone makes claims. I think that'll be the truth coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Claiming they know what she wants most. And not a single person seems to truly get it right or believe what they're saying.
So you see blasphemy where there should be piety.
I see confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Why this would be allowed.
And you are certain this is not what the Dark Lady wants? Does she speak to you?
And I think with that, Roland will be more along the lines terms of I think if she has been speaking to me, it's been very hard for me to hear her over everyone else's false claims.
And he stops and he turns towards you. The past month and a half, I've found it is very difficult to hear really anything. Have you found this as well?
You'll laugh. You'll think it's silly.
Try me.
Dreams.
As you say that, you suddenly feel kind of the presence of magic start to happen. And as you kind of look up, the conversation you've been having has been such kind of an introspective one. You haven't really been paying attention to where you are. And when you kind of look around, you realize the part of the city that you're in is absolutely deserted. You can't see anyone around you. And as you look up to him, you can see his holy symbol glowing slightly, and you can feel the presence of a zone of truth envelop the area. And I need a wisdom save.
Okay.
And again, he didn't try to hide this or anything like that. It is blatantly obvious that he's just cast a zone of truth.
Blatantly obvious?
Mm-hmm.
I fail.
Okay.
I choose to.
All right. So.
But Relwyn will make it a point of coughing.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly so. And looks like he's not going to say, he's not saying, oh, I'm breathing, like he's going to cough very hard, and he's going to hold his hand up, he's coughing incredibly hard, and he's not going to make a slide of hand or anything, he's just like coughing, I'm sorry, please give me... And he will take a pull, or the drop still will be like...
Okay.
Because he's like, nope, I'm not fighting that. But at the same time, I need help. He's going to take from the potion of loose lips.
Okay.
And down here, I will have proficiency and advantage in deception checks.
I will say, since you failed your save against the zone of truth, you are physically incapable of lying right now.
Telling falsehoods.
Well, mechanically, anything that would use a deception check, you would not be able to make in a zone of truth that you have.
But if I were to use the truth.
Sure. Okay. So what do you want to? What is your answer to his question?
Okay, sorry. What was his question? Because I know we had a bit of conversation.
So he mentioned the last month and a half he's been having a very hard time hearing, and you could see that he was putting a very large emphasis on the word hearing. And he asked, "Did you find that?" You said, "Well, it'll be silly. You'll make fun of it." You said dreams, and as you said dreams, he cast Zone of Truth, which you voluntarily failed. So his question was specifically about whether you can hear things over the last month and a half, which just so happens to coincide with the time when the Dark Lady stopped. So
I haven't. Remember, I have to say truths. I have not heard anything. I don't think I ever expected to. I wanted to. I hope to.
he puts both his hands on your shoulders, and he's a very large gentleman, and so
Is he appearing? Is he appearing as human?
he is human. He's a big guy. He's like my size, like easily like 6'4", 6'5", very kind of wide frame, not heavy set or anything like that. He seems relatively lean. It's just everything about him is kind of big. He could almost pass as a small Goliath. And so he kind of puts his hands on your shoulders. Have you lost your connection to the Dark Lady as I have? And you are here because you think this is part of the reason?
I think I'm here because of the strain I feel.
He slams his fist into a nearby kind of partial wall that's part of a ruined part of the town. And as he does, you see a small section of the wall gives just a little bit, and you hear this kind of and you can see a little trap door has sprung up on the ground, and he lifts it and he starts descending, and he stops. He's like, well, come on. And he keeps going down.
Rowan will follow.
As you go down, it's really dark. The door closes. Lillian, did you have something?
Now, from our vantage point, did we see what happened?
From you guys effectively would have had to kind of follow him from outside the city, which you would have been able to do until effectively when he cast the Zone of Truth is when you guys would have lost physical sight. But there's a very small part of the city where you wouldn't be able to see them without going into the city itself. And so you would effectively just expect them to eventually go past. And after a few moments, you see that they don't. Rowan, as you go down, the trapdoor closes behind you. Suddenly, you see lights, and in front of you are three things. In the same sense of the word that you saw in Ilmorn, that had runes attached to them to make them continuously explode. And you can see iconography of the Dark Lady all over, but a lot of the more kind of heretical texts and things like that you don't see. The things that always kind of made you feel off about the Dark Lady, the very kind of negative nature, none of that is reflected.
The propaganda that was spread.
Yeah. None of that is here. Everything here is stuff that you would kind of see in... Like, this feels very similar to if you had your own kind of secret hidey hole where you would keep your own stuff. It feels very similar. Like I said, the only weird thing you see is these three creatures. When
you said things, I thought you meant like items. So these three creatures have runes on them?
So what we've referred to are as things thus far in the campaign are effectively members of the Blood Council from the Prime Plane. They have all effectively been turned into these effectively immortal creatures who have their tongues removed that are given to lieutenants and things like that of the
like the
Dark Lord.
vampires.
Yeah, they're the vampires that you guys have saved. These are three more of them that have not been saved yet. And he turns to you and says, so you've seen others like this before. I can see it in your eyes. We need to figure out how to save them. I cannot tell you why, but I am sure they are connected to the Dark Lady's absence. And that is where we're going to end it for tonight. As always, if you missed any of this, I do upload these to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/TrainerJody. Otherwise, again, that is all for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.